Um, Unlike a lot of other people who are farming, it wasn't in the plan. It was happenstance. I married my husband after college and worked for 2 years for corporate Nabisco in sales, traveling the Midwest. Expected my first child, which took me out of the travel game, and my husband took over work after he graduated, and his work just eventually moved him over this way. I was a stay-at-home mom who was getting kind of bored and frankly depressed. So and my dad was alone and needing help with the beef cattle and the farm, so I just slowly started helping him. And when we ended up actually needing to move here for work, my parents offered that we maybe could incorporate and be part of the actual business. And when my children all entered school, I just kind of slowly went more full-time, and we just added more cattle, and I just slowly evolved into the business. I'm kind of a today kind of person. I have a hard time looking forward for planning, and it was just an evolution, and that's how I came to be on the farm.
Mm-hmm. So what's your day like?
Very different, and that's probably what I love the most about farming. For all of the things that are very difficult, there's consistency that 7 days a week cattle have to be fed. So I will get up in the morning, kind of get kids off to school, my husband leaves for work, and get the house as much in order as I can before I head out to feed cattle. And here comes my kid. Then we feed and then walk the cattle to make sure everything's real healthy. If there's a problem with health, we'll have something pulled to treat it. And then, depending on the weather, we'll clean the barns and rebed cattle up to twice a week in the winters and less in the summers. Summers, we do so much maintenance. This year we painted several sheds, including my parents' home. We're going to be tearing down an old shed that is really so obsolete and not doing well. And just a lot of maintenance in the summers, shingling and yard maintenance and grove maintenance, and a lot of gardening in the summer. We have a very large vegetable garden. And that's my day.
So
Lots of laundry.
what kind of hours do you work?
We pretty much work when the sun is up. But there's a lot of variety. So I was telling you that what I like about it is, there is that consistency that you have to be up in the mornings to feed cattle every day, but when that's done, some days you don't have to clean barns, and then I feel like I can make some decisions about what I do. And because my personality needs a lot of adventure, I never feel like I have, just that drudgery schedule, or at least I've been faked out to think I don't. I always say I have a lot of flexibility as long as I never plan anything, if that makes sense. Like, if I schedule meetings and things and the weather goes sour, then, or I plan something fun and the weather changes and we get nonstop snowstorms or rain or something, or the hay needs to be put up, then it's like, it's very stressful if it's something that costs you a lot of money that you planned, or if it's something very fun and you can't go. But as long as I don't plan anything and don't have to leave the farm, I can have bits and pieces here and there to kind of maneuver through my day. And I really like that. If I have to be clocked in from exactly 8 until 5 and I have to do exactly this, then I get a little bit crazy. So the variety here of each day, of not quite knowing what's going to happen, is just a really good thing for my personality. that's what I like the most.
Do you have favorite activities?
I don't know. You know, if I were to say, oh, I love to make hay. Well, no, I don't love to make hay. Making hay is usually a very horrible job. It's usually, like last time it was 100 degrees. I think I almost had heat stroke twice. It actually was 110 heat index. The silo pipe kept plugging up, so I was fighting with that behind 2 hot machines up against a silo in the sun. And it was just terrible, but you don't have to do it every day. So it's not making hay. I would say, oh, I love to clean the barn. And I don't mind cleaning the barn, but if I had to do it every day, moving around manure, well, no, who wants to play in manure every day? No, I don't love that every day, but it's peaceful because you're alone. You have a lot of time for your own thoughts. So I find some peace in that job, as long as it's not every day. When the weather's bad and I have to do it every day, then I start getting kind of crabby because, you know, you don't go to college for 4 or 5 years so you can move manure every day, as my father would remind me. Favorite job? I like walking cattle. I really like to check the cattle every day. And I love to see that they're healthy and eating well. There's a lot of peace with the animals. I guess that would probably be my favorite thing.
We've alluded to your stay in the corporate world before you came back to the farm. Curious what that was like.
I don't miss that. I started in the first recession in '91. And I was so grateful for a job. All I had was debt. So I had a company car, I had a little expense count, I had a paycheck that was like amazing, especially in my major where I was starting at maybe double what some of my counterparts were starting at because they stayed in actual retail and I went into with Nabisco. I was a very happy woman, but it was, I couldn't motivate for that job. I liked the travel. There was a bit of variety that way because I would go 8 weeks in Bismarck, 4 weeks Des Moines. I would be all over Detroit, but it just seemed, for me, it was meaningless. And it's like, I just don't care that much about crackers. I just couldn't get passionate about it. And so after a year and a half and a baby being born, I just looked at my husband and said, I keep looking up, you know, to where you could go. And I don't want to go up. Up looks even worse than where I am. So I think I need to find a new place. And then my son was born and I was traveling Monday. I'd fly out Monday, fly back Thursday night at best. And I thought, well, this is not going to work. So it was a blessing that I was traveling that much because then it was a forced get out. So no, I never missed. And plus, I was saying I started during the first recession. So how many months after I started, they started doing what they're doing now, and they start hatcheting all their middle management people. And then they start hatcheting anybody over 55 or whoever's been there longer than 20 years. And then I found out after I resigned that they got rid of absolutely everyone in my district. They found a way. So they could start afresh with lower cost people. That was just a really good way to leave the corporate world.
Yeah.
It's made me not really miss it ever, even on bad days. Really bad days. I don't miss it.
So, I mean, you paint a really real you paint a real picture of what this is. It's easy to feel the texture of it, but I'm just curious. What are the hardest things about the life?
You know, I told you how much flexibility there was. There really isn't. Because 7 days a week, cattle have to be fed. And we were refilling cattle this spring before we had most of them sold. So there was never a day off. Now we have my parents over there. Now I keep looking in, now I'm starting to look at the future. I'm old enough that I'm starting to think about 10 years, and I'm thinking about when my dad at 71, almost 2, is physically not wanting or can't do this anymore, and my son and daughter and next son are gone, we could be stuck here alone. And I'd never get away. I mean, that with livestock is so difficult to think about. I'm a kind of a content person. I need a lot of my own time, so I've adjusted to that, but you know, I want to at least be able to plan something. And I think if we're ever alone, oh, I think we may just not buy cattle anymore. I just don't know how I could do that.
So
You'd have to have somebody else. You'd have to have some, I don't know, something. That's the hard part, that inability to plan a lot of things. Like weddings, you know, we have 2 weddings this fall. And they're at the beginning of harvest. And harvest can start in early September this year, the way the drought is. And some years it can go up to Thanksgiving. We've finished Thanksgiving week. How do you, and if it has to go, you know, sometimes you can get 10 inches of rain, and if you don't do it when the time is right, so it has to be something really big for you to just say, not going there. So that's the hard part, Peter.
Have you gotten vacations?
Yes. We just take them. We went to DC again this year. We've gone to Miami to meet my exchange brother. We've gone to San Francisco. So we have traveled. And once you have that life, I don't want to go, I don't want to not. And when my kids are gone, I keep thinking, if they graduate and don't come back here, which, you know, we've never told them you need or should stay local, I think how are we going to get away to see them again? Things will change. Right now, everybody comes here. My parents' house is big. They built it so that everybody could come home. So the gang all comes home for the holidays, and they come to us. Yeah, one year we had 10 inches of rain as we were just beginning. And I, of course, thought, you know, it was flooding out here. It was just a ridiculous amount of water. And I thought, well, that's it. You know, my pessimism came in. I thought, we'll never get the crop out. I don't think it was a week. We were back in full-fledged. It just shut off, and the sun came out, and oh, okay. But every year is so different because of the weather that, you know, you feel the fall coming on when the locusts come and that first north air hits, and you can hear the corn, you know, so there's that, but yet it's just, I don't know. I just don't think about it that way, I guess. I don't know if I fully understand the question, I'm sorry.
Well, let's see. So you have harvest from early September, a lot of times.
Mid-September. We'll start doing corn silage. That's very early if we're for people with livestock. Everybody else would be maybe pushing late or October 1.
I see. So it starts getting really
That'd be
busy.
an average.
Well, sort of middle September, and might run to Thanksgiving.
Good.
Really busy. And then what's that winter like? I mean, is it just sort of maintenance?
Yeah, winter is probably in that way more routine, more quiet. You get up, you feed the cattle, and you know, but the years where it's just nonstop snow dumping, that's where I get really crabby, because all you do is move snow, and all you do is clean yards and haul manure and bed cattle, and that can get to be really drudgery. For people who used to, like my dad grew up on a dairy farm, they didn't hardly leave the county as a kid. You just couldn't go. I mean, the day was so long just getting the cows fed and the milk and done, and you know, that's what they did.
So you have that.
And that lasts all the way to spring, till planting and shipping starts.
So when do you buy cattle?
We buy cattle in the fall, so they'll come in usually when harvest is starting. That's a crazy time of year.
Oh, so you get the cattle in and the harvest
Cattle are
starts
coming
same
in and the
time.
harvest is usually full blown, and then we're vaccinating when we're not harvesting, and we're getting everybody settled. And then in the spring, about the time planting starts, we're shipping those cattle.
And what kind of dates? What are the dates for that?
We'll start shipping cattle early April, mid-April, maybe late March even, through April, and then early May. So kind of that month, we'll start sorting off the bigger ones and ship them, and then we'll start planting.
And planting runs what kind
again,
of dates?
Corn, April. You ideally want it all in April, because once May 1 hits, see, people get excited because you know that your productivity is you're gonna lose so much every day after May 1. That you're just gonna lose bushel potential. So it'll start as soon as you can get the ground temps to where they need to be in April, and then you know, and when insurance will let you put it in, and so you could collect if it freezes off or something freakish. Then people will go.
So you got planting, and when does that finish?
Oh, ideally May 15th for beans and corn.
So
Or
what happens?
April, beans May, and boy, when we're not done in June, people are getting excited.
So what happens between the end of planting and essentially the hot months of summer?
Spraying, crop checking, maintenance, lots and lots and lots of maintenance, whatever needs to be done. And like I say, every year I'm amazed. There's fences to be rebuilt, there's shingling to be done, there's hay to be made. Every month we put up hay. That's at least 2 days plus cutting for a day or two, depending on breakdowns.
So
Spraying, just trying to keep weeds in control. That's a huge managing weeds, huge, and gets and that's always evolving, changing. What the weeds are, what controls, what doesn't. That's where the crop consultant for us is such a.
So then, at this point, what have you got for animals? I mean, you've sold off most of the. What do you keep over the summer then?
We bring the cattle that we brought in this spring. Ours all come from North Dakota in the summers, and there's about 66 head times 4 per pen. In the winters, we can up it to 100. Can easily be in the barn, or not quite.
So you've
100 pen, so 400.
You've got animals that come in the spring, and then when do they
They'll leave right before the new ones come, September.
Oh, so you've got a short-term animal season and then a long-term.
These are yearlings that we bring in the spring. They're larger. They've been backgrounded for a little while, maybe on a pasture or something. The calves that we get in the fall from the ranches in Montana, they're babes. They're little 300 and 400 pound calves. They come in, and they're just weaned, called weaned calves. They've been weaned and then they ship them. This year they want to ship earlier because they're so dry. Very dry. The pastures out in Montana they're back to their dry cycle like we are. So, yeah, if we're that's our rotation. Everybody's different. Some people are shipping fat cattle right now. Large feed yards are always shipping. They're just always bringing in new, but we have a 2-cycle deal.
Nice. It gives you a year you can kind of count on. Last question. I hear a lot of sad stuff about agriculture out here. Various kinds of sad stories. How do things look to you? Do you feel hopeful about
Oh, you
smart
have to be.
operations like this?
There's a lot of people to feed, you know, and the economics drive so much of it, but the reality is there's just I'm hopeful. I mean, my son is going into agronomy at Iowa State, and that's like the best agronomy school we've been told. And he's just so excited about it, and he says, I'm just excited to potentially develop something that could help, that, you know, to help alleviate starvation. I know that's extremely a political thing, but it also is a production issue. And, you know, we're going into where there's a lot of droughts around the world, and we have to find better ways to feed people.